Guys, I am excited. I'm really excited about what we have in our hands. Like, we had a weekend last week where we heard Tina Van Horn from America speaking about epigenetics and how Reliv is positioned as the first ever nutritional epigenetics company in the world, and how the opportunity that we have in our hands today is so massive. And so I've just put together a little edited version of what Tina spoke about on Saturday so that you can really see some of the nuggets that she really spoke about, to see the opportunity that we have in our hands with Reliv. I am excited. I know that 2015 is going to be an amazing year. Last year was good. We saw more growth in Europe, continued sustained growth, and 2015 is going to be, if not better. And so I'm excited for you guys. I'm excited for myself because I know how we're helping people. We are helping people on levels that other companies are not actually there yet. We have the research, we have the results, and we have the global license for Lunison in regards to the mechanism of action of getting it into our product. So guys, know what you have in your hands. Watch this video, and I hope if you're watching this video and you're new to Reliv, believe me, this is a very strong opportunity. So watch it and see for yourself.
Epigenetics, what's really interesting is that it begins, our epigenetic influences begin before we're even born. Actually, even many generations prior to when we were born. And so we know that epigenetic influences are strong in the choices that are made as in the preconception time, as well as infancy and prenatal development. Those babies, those young people, they're born with blank epigenomes. Their genes know what to do, they're born, they're healthy, but then as we go through life and we're experience environmental exposures and nutrition, we start to put signals on our epigenome, which tells our DNA either to turn on the healthy genes and keep them turned on, or it starts to turn off the healthy genes and allow some of the unhealthy things to manifest. So, but as we go through life, we still continue to have those epigenetic influence through our lifestyle and daily choices. Young people, we've got some young people here today, and I can get really excited when I look in their eyes and I know that they're getting the nutrition they need right now that are setting them up for health in 30 or 40 years. Like I said, I have an 8-year-old son and a 13-year-old son, and I want them to be healthy now, but I also want them to be healthy as adults, and the choices that we're making for them now and teaching them to make are influencing their long-term health. So as children grow and into adolescence and young adulthood, they're actually setting some epigenetic tags in place for their future generations. I talked about my 13-year-old son, and he's obviously going through some physical changes right now, and I can look at him, and although sometimes he's very difficult to deal with because he is a teenager, I'm patient because I know that I need him to get that good nutrition, because he's actually, the things he's going through are setting the stage for the health of my grandchildren. And yes, I'm 42, but there's that little part of me that knows that's going to be awesome, and I want healthy grandbabies, so I'm making sure he's getting good nutrition right now. Because the science is so new. But what we do know is that as the field matures, as we get more answers, that it's going to dramatically change how we approach healthcare and nutrition. We're no longer going to be looking at healthcare as a responsive practice, and we're going to be able to focus more and have more tools to implement when it comes to prevention. We'll be able to understand specifically how the diet interacts with our gene structure to delay and prevent the onset of those chronic diseases that we have in our family histories. And that changes the absolute paradigm of healthcare. As the field matures, as we gain more information, as the mass markets start to understand the power that they have over their long-term health, this field is going to explode. Reliv has gotten in on the ground level, the very, very ground level. And by gaining an understanding of this science and these lifestyle choices and this nutrition now, you are pre-positioned for tremendous business success as word gets out, as people start to understand what this means to their health. So what we're looking at in the future is, I can't even begin to explain the impact that nutritional epigenetics will have on healthcare and the economy. So Lunison, where does Lunison fit in? Why did I start with epigenetics? What makes Lunison so unique is that it is the first dietary ingredient with an identified epigenetic mechanism of action. And I'm promising you as I stand here, that is the most technical I'm going to get today, okay? We've made some mistakes in trying to explain this science in the US, and so it actually works out to your benefit that we made all of our mistakes back there and taught them all these big words, and we're not even going to do that, because your job today is not to leave here as an expert in anything. Your job is to start to understand the ground level of nutritional epigenetics and Lunison. So what do these big words mean? Well, I already explained epigenetics, but what Lunison does, what makes Lunison truly unique, is that we know the mechanism of action. That means we know exactly from a scientific and research perspective how it works at the genetic level to promote optimal gene expression. There are other dietary ingredients out there that have epigenetic mechanisms of action. We know they have to work epigenetically, but we don't know how they're doing that. So that truly differentiates Lunison from any other dietary ingredient and sets it on a level higher than other dietary ingredients as far as the scientific validation of its health benefits. Now, when you start talking about prescription medications, you must know the actual exact mechanism of action before it can be approved by the regulatory authorities to work for certain conditions. And so Lunison kind of falls, in that level. We have the scientific understanding similar to that of prescriptions, yet we know it's a naturally occurring dietary ingredient. Lunison is a peptide, which all that means is it's a fraction of the soy protein. So we extract it from soy protein. It's a peptide. It's been found in soy. It was identified in 1996. It also is a naturally occurring peptide found in other cereal grains like barley and rye and amaranth. And there's research looking to identify it in other cereal grains. But what we've been working on since 1996, really since 1999 at Soy Labs and SL Technology, is learning how to extract the peptide from soy. And Dr. Alfredo Galvez, who you heard from earlier in the Blue Man video, he's the genius behind who actually identified and discovered the Lunison peptide. And he and Ryan Schmidt, who's the director of SL Technology, have been working together over the last 15 years to find a way to get the peptide out of the soy in a form that's bioavailable. That has taken a significant amount of time. So, since from 1999 until we were able to actually introduce the peptide, introduce the ingredient to Reliv headquarters in 2011, it took that much time for them to actually identify the process by which we can get the peptide out of the soy protein and concentrate it so that you can get in a bioavailable form, which, if you're familiar with Reliv, you know how important bioavailability is, and that's what's taken so long. There are other companies out there right now, today as we speak, actively researching, trying to find ways to extract the peptide from soy and other cereal grains in a bioavailable form and make it commercially available. Nobody else in the world has figured out how to do that yet. That's what's exclusive to Reliv. The health benefits that have been identified over the last 15 years in the body of research are growing every single day. Dr. Galvez and Ryan Schmidt started their adventure identifying the cholesterol health benefits of the peptide. And they actually identified lunasin as the component in soy that helps lower cholesterol. Additional research has validated that it has very, very tremendous antioxidant properties, anti-inflammatory properties, it boosts immunity. We've done some research that has shown it supports metabolic health. I forget some of them. Overall cellular health, skin health, we've heard those studies. And these health results have been validated in 80+ research publications. These are studies that have been published in very renowned scientific publications. And in my job, I forgot to tell you what I do in my job. I take those research studies and I translate them into something that we can understand. I'm still working on making it so Eric can understand it, but we'll get there. The body of research on the health benefits of just the lunasin peptide is growing every single day. We are being contacted now that we, in cooperation with Reliv, now that we have this product, more research can be done, and we're being contacted by research institutions from around the world to supply them with LunaRich C and LunaRich X so that they can start conducting additional research projects. So, you know, if I come back here in 12 months or in the fall, I will have a whole new file on research that we can talk about and new health applications that are being identified. And from a research perspective, I'm so excited about what we're going to learn and the ability to validate those health benefits. Just a quick look at some of the research institutions where these published studies have been done. Dr. Galvez began his work at the University of California, Berkeley, and then continued his work at the University of California, Davis. But we also are working with the University of Missouri, which is very close to where I live. That's where we conducted a study that I'll discuss with you shortly. The University of Illinois has a very advanced nutrition science department. That's where Dr. Carl graduated from, and we're cooperating very closely with them on some additional research. And they've contributed significantly to the anti-inflammatory research that's validated the lunasin health benefits. And this research has been funded by a number of sources. Two things you need to understand about research, because as I talk about it a little more, you're going to think, well, why haven't they done this yet? And what's the other thing? Anyway, research. Two things about research. It takes a long time, and it's very expensive. And so the funding for all of these studies has come from a variety of sources, and not just private funding sources like Reliv or Soy Labs, but not-for-profit health research organizations such as the American Institute for Cancer Research, the American Heart Association, international interests, the Imperial Cancer Research Fund, as well as the National Research Foundation of Korea, and then government and public funding sources. In the U.S., we've got the United States Department of Defense. And it's interesting, you know, you might be thinking, why would our Department of Defense be interested in lunasin research? Well, we have a very large Veterans Affairs Department that supplies health care to our country's veterans. And obviously that would be a significant number. Millions of Americans get their health care through that agency. And so the Department of Defense spends a significant portion of their budget on supporting research that may be applicable to our country's veterans. The National Institute of Health is our leading research funding source in the U.S., and then as well as the National Cancer Institute. And while we're talking about I just want to address, there's a lot of myths out there about soy and the safety of soy. while I'm on this slide and have this up here, I want to explain that many people, and I'm gonna stand way over here because I'm not talking about Reliv products right now. I'm talking about research and soy. Many people, when you start to talk to them about the Reliv products and explain that they're soy-based, they have objections to soy because there's a significant amount of information out there easily available on the internet about negative side effects, negative health effects of soy. And one of those being soy causes cancer. Now, Dr. Galvez, Reliv just released a short video segment of Dr. Galvez addressing that topic. But what I want to tell you about that is the American Institute for Cancer Research, as well as the American Cancer Society, have both taken public statements, public positions on the fact that soy does not cause cancer. The American Institute for Cancer Research has gone so far as to put soy on the list of foods that prevents cancer. So why, if we have these organizations who are very powerful and very research-based, why do we have this confusion? The confusion is based on a significant amount of research that's been done many years, over the last couple of generations. But that research was done primarily on mice and rats and other types of rodents. And what we understand now is that rodents do not metabolize soy the same way that humans do. They don't metabolize the isoflavones and some of the other bioactives. So that body of research that led to these negative results and all these questions is no longer valid. And if we could go out on the internet and wipe out all that research, that would be great. But we don't have that power. So we have to help people understand that the only valid research on soy and the health benefits is based on, when it comes to the whole cancer conversation, needs to be based on human models. So if we understand lunasin is the first nutritional ingredient identified with an epigenetic mechanism of action, Luna-Rich is Reliv's version of that. We cannot license and own lunasin. And as I said, there are other companies out there trying to figure out how to manufacture a lunasin-based ingredient. And they haven't figured it out yet. But Reliv, when they licensed the technology, acquired the rights to the manufacturing processes and the intellectual property that Soy Labs has developed over the past 11 years for producing the Luna-Rich product. And so, you know, as we're sitting here, it is exclusive to Reliv. And as we know, nobody else has it. They're working on it. They may catch up, but by understanding this science today, you're going to be light years ahead of anybody else when their research comes forward. Well, what happens when you combine Soy Labs technology and Reliv's commitment and integrity and established business structures? We created the first nutritional epigenetics company in the world. And these two men are absolutely brilliant individuals. So you can imagine what happens when you put them together in the same room. It's dangerous at times, to be perfectly honest. So they are exceptional individuals. Dr. Galvez loves research. He loves research. He loves finding answers. He loves being challenged with the questions. And Dr. Carl, he loves putting it together in solutions that you can use that are going to make differences. So if understanding, seeing the two of them talking, sometimes it gives me chills just because it's powerful. They're so powerful together. As I mentioned before, we've been working on developing the lunasin peptide and the Luna-Rich ingredient for a number of years. But Dr. Carl has been following that research over the last 10 years. He's known Ryan Schmidt and Dr. Galvez for quite some time, and he's been aware of the challenges we've faced in creating a bioavailable ingredient. And with his commitment to quality and bioavailability, he didn't want to talk about it until we could establish that we had a bioavailable form of the peptide. So we finally got there in 2011. In 2012, they introduced the Luna-Rich soy powder into some of the formulas, some of the powder-based formulas. Then almost exactly 2 years ago today, in the States, we launched the capsules. And then shortly after that, Reliv realized what they had a hold of, and that's when they licensed the technology exclusively. And I think that was announced when we were in Orlando. Let me tell you a little bit about that story. Was anybody here in Orlando? Okay. While we were all having our good time down in Orlando, the powers that be back in St. Louis were sitting around negotiating this deal. And when we flew to Orlando, we didn't even know this was going to happen. And so lots of whispering and lots of excitement, and it was just too exciting not to share. Even though we didn't have a publicly prepared statement, it was too exciting for Reliv not to share and tell the Reliv world what they had a hold of. So, and then obviously, this past October, through Eric's work and the work of the Reliv EU team, they brought the capsules to Europe. So why capsules? Reliv has a strong commitment to producing the powders, and the reasons for that is because of the bioavailability and the synergism of putting ingredients together to work more effectively. But what we know with the single ingredient in the Luna-Rich products is that, as I said, we had to establish the bioavailability of the single ingredient before Dr. Carl would even talk to us. Make sure it's bioavailable, then you can come back. So we know that as a single ingredient formula, the capsules are bioavailable. You ingest them, your body can use it. We also know that it limits the allergen risk. There are a number of people out there who have soy sensitivities. So by isolating the peptide away from the soy protein and putting it in a single ingredient capsule, that allowed us to limit the allergy potential for certain individuals. We also know that in the Luna-Rich seed powder itself, the isoflavone content is very, very low, because there is a select part of the population who is also sensitive to soy isoflavones. Now, the popular body of research, most of the body of research tells us that soy isoflavones are healthy and very beneficial. And you're getting that through your other Reliv products. But there is a portion of the population that does limit their isoflavones. But then there's also convenience and versatility. I will be the first to tell you, it has taken me a number of years to get really consistent with the powders. I don't like to drag them around with me. I don't like the taste of most of them. And they're not convenient. So capsules and tablets, we know, are the preferred delivery method for most people. However, Reliv knows that for most products, the most effective delivery method is the powders. But to get back to that point, inside those capsules is a powder. We just have concentrated it. So you can open the capsules, you can dump them in your shakes, you can take them as capsules, you can take them individually, and we know they work based on the research and the health benefits. But we also know that when taken in combination with the other Reliv products, that Luna-Rich C is boosting the health benefits of the other Reliv products. And this is where we're getting really fun with the research, when we start to look at the combinations and how they work together to improve the health benefits that you've already seen by combining what you're doing now with Luna-Rich C. This is one study that we did cooperatively with the University of Missouri, and this is just the tip of the iceberg on where we're going as far as research to identify how the products work together. So from a research perspective, we have to have a very limited focus when we design an experiment. So what we did, first we tested Luna-Rich C by itself. And we know it has these health benefits for cholesterol lowering and helping with metabolic regulation. We know it does that. But then we wanted to see what would it do in combination with Reliv Now. And that was our starting point. So this study was conducted at the University of Missouri. I have to get my notes here because I want to make sure I state it correctly. But so what we were looking at in doing this research was we were looking at the cholesterol biomarkers and those other biomarkers associated with cardiovascular health. And so this study was done on 5 pigs. The reason we used pigs is because their livers metabolize soy more as closely to humans as any other model. And so what they did was they fed the pigs the equivalent of 4 Luna-Rich C capsules a day and a scoop of Now. And so the researchers at the university who were actually conducting the experiment asked us for permission to analyze some other biomarkers that we weren't looking at. And we said, sure, they weren't going to charge for it. It was something they wanted to help with their research. So they did their research, we did ours. We saw the cholesterol health lowering benefits and some of the other heart health benefits. But then the researchers called us in and said, you know, we've seen something in the results here that you need to be aware of. And so what they showed us was they were looking at a biomarker called free fatty acids. What we know is that higher levels of free fatty acids are associated with obesity and metabolic syndrome. So, having the ability to lower free fatty acids, it's very beneficial to be able to do that through dietary supplementation. And you can see from, I'll get up here on the stage, what this graph represents is, this is the 5 pigs, the average of them, before they started treatment. So they were at this level. The treatment they were on was, as I said, the equivalent of 4 Luna-Rich C capsules and 1 scoop of Now. So when they were on treatment, their free fatty acid levels dropped significantly. Then as soon as the treatment was over, which was about 8 weeks, and they measured their free fatty acid levels again, they came back up to a point almost level with where they started. When scientific research, that's the conclusive evidence right there to show that the treatment is what caused the change. There are no therapeutic prescription drugs out there that can reduce free fatty acids to this level. So Dr. Galvez consulted with some other researchers that he knows, and they suggested that he look at 2 other biomarkers as well. And the other biomarkers we looked at were adiponectin and leptin. And what we know about adiponectin is that higher levels are associated with proper energy metabolism and insulin sensitivity. And you can see, so higher levels are good, and the treatment increased the adiponectin levels by 64%. As well, leptin is our satiety hormone. It's the signal that tells our brains when we've had enough to eat. So in most conditions, higher leptin levels are a good thing. And the treatment, obviously, caused the leptin levels of the subjects to increase. So what we identified was the potential for this combination of products to have applications for metabolic syndrome. And we're going to continue the research. But what it did absolutely validate for us, as we're hearing from many of the health stories, is that Luna-Rich C works in combination with the other Reliv products to help them work better. One of the health benefits that's been identified for the lunasin peptide that's the research is very, very strong on is its anti-inflammatory properties. And when we talk about inflammation, I need to differentiate between 2 kinds. Just check the time. Okay. There's acute inflammation, which Caroline experienced this week with her little incident. And that's what happens when we associate with swelling and pain and redness. And that's actually a beneficial form of inflammation. That's our immune system doing what it's supposed to do naturally in response to injury or infection. So that's good. But there is a negative, a very bad form of inflammation, and it's chronic inflammation. And everyone in this room is experiencing chronic inflammation today. The thing is, you can't see it, you can't feel it, it's difficult to measure, so you don't know it's happening. And it's a far more insidious and dangerous form of inflammation because it's this chronic, systemic state of alert that our systems are in that cause exaggerated immune responses. It's a hallmark to many of the chronic diseases that we have in our family health histories, like cardiovascular disease. That is actually an inflammatory condition. Alzheimer's is an inflammatory condition. Diabetes, autoimmune diseases such as Crohn's disease and colitis, those are inflammatory conditions. So when we start to understand the lifestyle influences that we have over controlling our inflammatory responses, we can make changes there, reduce that chronic inflammation level, and improve our underlying general health. There's a combination of ingredients. This powerful combination of products has tremendous anti-inflammatory properties. Obviously, Lunarich C only has one ingredient in it, and the Lunacin has an identified mechanism of action for its anti-inflammatory properties. But in combination with Reliv Now and some of the other Reliv products, you have a formula for an anti-inflammatory formula that you can't get anywhere else. And to be perfectly honest, these are not inflammatories that come from large drug manufacturers. This is Mother Nature at work. This is Mother Nature doing what she does to help you live healthy. We also know that immunity support, actually inflammation is an immune response. So supporting a healthy immune system is critical. And we do that with Lunacin, but also with the combination of other micronutrients and minerals that are found in Reliv Now and Classic and Fiber Store and Energize. So what happens when we start to control that inflammatory response? When we start to manage our oxidative stress levels and improve our immunity? All of a sudden we feel better. We're healthier. We start seeing reduced instances of chronic diseases. We're on our path to wellness. We're on a path to prevention. And my favorite terms up here are successful aging. I think that sounds very pleasant, doesn't it? Because come on, we can all be honest. You know, you can age roughly, or you can age successfully. And I'm all on board with successful aging, right? I think most of you would agree. So inflammation, how does that affect us just on a daily basis when we talk about that chronic inflammation? Well, I'm a very active individual. I love being active. I got up this morning. I knew to get my mind where it needed to be, I had to go do a workout, so I got that done. But inflammation has a lot of negative effects on just our daily activities and our performance. It decreases our performance and endurance. It increases soreness and recovery time. It leads to overuse injuries. I'm 42. I am concerned about overuse injuries. I don't want to get one of those that sidelines me and keeps me. You heard Gail talking about she's experienced some overuse injuries and has improved on the nutrition. Interruptions to daily activity, lack of energy. Even though we're wrapping this around sports and being active, when we talk about interruptions to daily activity, that's not all about being able to go out and do a 5K or lift weights or play rugby. That's about those things that you do every day that make you happy, that fulfill you. So Eric's talked about how the products changed his life because they gave him the ability to go out and take care of his garden again. Or maybe at the end of the day, when you've taken care of all those things you have to do, and you get to the point in the day where you get to do the things that you enjoy, you know, is that being able to take your kids and go for a bike ride? Is that walking the dog? What is it that makes you happy? Do you have the energy and the physical ability at the end of the day to do those things? And what we know from this nutrition is that people have so much more energy. So they get the things done that have to be done. And then they start living. My sons, as I said, they're 8 and 13. And my parents don't live very close to us. They're several hours drive away. But they're in pretty good health. They have some issues, you know, but they're still very active. They're able to drive and visit us. They're able to take my kids out in the yard and play sports with them and engage and have a lot of fun. My husband's family, my husband's parents, are not so healthy. They have some pretty severe health issues, and so when we visit them or when they visit us, there's a whole lot of sitting around. My 8-year-old does not sit around well. He's pretty rotten, but sitting is not his thing, I can assure you of that. I see these children that are in here sitting, and I'm like, how do they do that? But anyway, so we're sitting around supper, and I remind my kids, I'm like, oh, hey, I forgot to tell you, Grandma's coming to visit. And the 8-year-old's response was, oh, which one? The fun one or the other one? And it's funny, a little, but it's pretty sad, because what do you want to be known as? The fun grandma or the other one? And those are the kinds of things we're talking about when we talk about supporting your energy and an active lifestyle. Because you want to be the fun grandma. You want to be able to engage with the people who fulfill you, who reward you. Oxidative stress, additional benefit that we know from the leucine peptide. How does that interfere with physical performance and active lifestyle? Well, especially for those of us who are athletes, the more you work out, the more oxidative stress you generate. And so when you have that oxidative stress, it increases recovery time and fatigue. And you're going to hear Pierre here in just a little bit tell you about his experience with the products as a rugby player. And one of the things he has noticed is the ability to recover more quickly from strenuous activity. Well, guess what? Guess what else is strenuous activity? Eric is helping your son paint his new flat or new house. Is that a strenuous activity? Have you spent the day at the mall or shopping with a 15-year-old girl? That's strenuous. Recovering from those types of activities? Yeah, we all need help with that. Overtraining and muscle damage. You know, as we age, we lose muscle mass. So it's incredibly important to control that oxidative stress so that we maintain our muscle mass, so that we can be strong and healthy and do those things that we enjoy. But also supporting our immune system. We know the research has indicated that leucine, the peptide, supports immune function. And why is that important? Well, in hindsight, with the whole Ebola scare, we all start to think about supporting our immune systems and what we can do to support it from the inside out. Immunity compounded by stress. So not only can we help with our immunity from a nutritional perspective, but also from the Reliv lifestyle. By reducing stress, we support our immune system. Oh, I like this slide. Okay. Is anybody here concerned about their appearance or weight? Because you all, I've seen some beautiful people in Europe. I really have. You all, I got to tell you, there's some beautiful, beautiful people here today. Okay, we do want to age more successfully. We do want to look better. And so when we talk about nutrition and we talk about the epigenetic lifestyle, we're talking about being active, looking and feeling better. So how does the nutrition help us look better? Well, it helps with allergies. Allergies are an immune response. And I don't know about you, but when my allergies act up, it's all right here. Dark circles and puffiness, and that is not pretty. Dom and Francis got to see me this morning before I put my costume on, and I think they were a little shocked. So allergies are an immune response. We can help control that inflammatory immune response. Acne. You heard Victoria's story about acne. What did that do for her? It gave her a whole new outlook. Acne is an inflammatory condition. Hair loss, that's an inflammatory condition. I'm not sure if we're going to be able to take care of this for Eric, but we're going to try. 35 years of negative epigenetic influences made his hair fall out. So we're going to see how long it takes. He's our own personal experiment on this one. Dental decay, that's an inflammatory condition. Obesity, sleep disorders. Sleep disorders have a tremendous impact on our productivity and how we feel and react. What I want to say about obesity, and it was validated this morning while I was watching the news, in the U.S., the #1 health problem we have today is obesity. Yet we don't address it. We kind of don't want to talk about it. We pretend it doesn't exist. 1/3 of the U.S. population is obese. 1/3 of the U.S. population is overweight. 1/3 of the world population is overweight or obese. And at the current rates, if the current rates continue and we don't change our health practices, by the year 2030, so in 15 years, over half the world will be obese. I'm going to challenge you to start to open that dialogue with people. And it's complicated. You have to tiptoe because you can't walk up to somebody and say, you know, you're obese, what are you going to do about it? Can I help you with that? We don't have a problem approaching somebody who's smoking and suggesting, you know, maybe this will help you quit smoking. The research money that we spend in the world, we spend as much to help people quit smoking as we do on obesity. Yet, the cost of obesity is far beyond anything of the negative health effects of smoking, and we don't ignore smoking. It's going to be a challenge, but it's time to have open and honest dialogue about this as a condition. Okay, that's my soapbox on that. Growth and development. How does inflammation and immune function affect growth and development? Inflammation and immune contributes to asthma and allergies. We heard a few allergy stories today. Behavior disorders. The first place that micronutrient deficiencies show up are in mood and behavior disorders. We have a culture that when a child acts out, that we assume they must have some sort of diagnosable condition. We rush them off to the physician writes them a prescription, and we drug them. We medicate them. Is there a cat in here? Is that your phone? So we have this little habit in the States that when your phone goes off in the middle of a presentation, will make you get up and sing your national anthem. So, warning. I'm like, oh my gosh, you drug a cat in.
I think that's the one I have to do. I forgot the cat.
That's okay. Okay. It was a pleasant ring. So, anyway, back, very serious. The #1 place, the first place micronutrient deficiencies appear is in mood and behavior disorders. And like I said, what happens when kids act out? We drag them to the doctor and we put them on drugs, because that's going to fix it. We need to back up the bus. We need to take a look at the root of what is causing those disruptions in their behavior. and see if potentially, you know, there are nutritional interventions that can take the place of those drugs. This is a very personal story. My niece turned 16 in a few weeks. She's beautiful, she's intelligent, she's popular, she's perfect. My sister has perfect kids, and yeah. You know, she's the older sister, and her kids are perfect, and then I have these two rotten wild boys. But she is, honestly, she is perfect. Last March, my sister called to tell me that they had admitted her to the hospital overnight because she had threatened to commit suicide. And you think, your brain runs, what did we do, what didn't we do, how can we fix this, why doesn't she understand everything she has going for her? She has friends, she's an athlete, she plays golf, she's so smart, she acts, she sings. Why doesn't she see this value in herself? And I spent a lot of time in the hospital with her, talking to her, and of course, the physicians, they did put her on some medications to help her with the short-term issues, and you know, she sees a therapist. But the one thing I knew I could do for her was I took her a can of Kids Now, and I took her candy capsules, and I made her promise me that she would take them. Because biochemically, something is not in balance. And her understanding of that, knowing that there was potential that just how she was eating could be causing her to think this way, that's powerful right there. And Ashlu, your story, I mean, absolutely. God bless you for being here today. Wonderful. Skin conditions are inflammatory. You've seen the pictures of the kids from the Calagras Foundation, the before and after pictures. The before pictures, they're not happy. And many of them have breakouts and rashes and skin eruptions. And then the after pictures, all we can see is what that nutrition is doing for the outsides of their bodies. We can't even see what it's doing on the inside. But clearing up those discomforts, that outward appearance, helping with those skin conditions, their smiles light up. And when we send our children to school today, if we send them with acne, with psoriasis, with eczema, they get made fun of. They're uncomfortable. There's a social stigma there. So if we can help some of those conditions through proper nutrition, through anti-inflammatory diets, I think that's definitely worth it. Sleep disorders and seasonal illnesses, you know, we're in the heart of flu season and cold season, and not fun trying to maintain your everyday schedule when you've got a cold or a flu. That's pretty difficult to do, and we know that the nutrition that we have access to helps with those. We are not getting the nutrients that we need from our diet today. I eat pretty healthy. I love ice cream, I love sweets, I love the breads in Germany and Austria. And even though I try really hard to do the best I can for my body, for my nutrition, I still have nutrient gaps. That's just the result of the cultures that we live in today. We're busy, we're eating on the go, we're eating what's quick, we're eating processed foods. We don't have access to the better food choices, that rainbow of foods that we need to get all of our nutrients. And so we end up with nutrient gaps. Well, what happens when we have those gaps? Our quality of life suffers. We can't do the things that fulfill us. We can't do the things that we love to do. We don't have the energy to be the fun grandma and grandpa, and I don't have the energy to go for a run. Well, what's the solution? You all know what the solution is. If you've been on the products, you know what the solution is. Reliv Nutrition. I've looked at a lot of different types of nutrition products. They come and they go. Reliv Nutrition has been around for 26 years. They're at the forefront of nutrition evolution, nutrition research. They're going to continue to work to help people make real, sustainable changes in their lives. I am working to improve myself. I'm working on my super me. I want to be healthy. I want to continue to coach and travel to Europe and spend 10 days being drug around the countryside and told where to be and when. I want to continue to be able to do this. And let me tell you, it takes a lot of energy to keep up with that man. I mean, I thought following Ryan Schmidt through an airport was tough, but whew. I mean, I've gotten stopped at the security gates, and that's like my little break. When I'm sitting there trying to get through security, and they have to stop and wait on me. Anyway, that's our inside joke, because I get stopped at every security gate. I just apparently have that look about me. My family health history is riddled with those scary conditions that you have in your health histories, the conditions we heard stories about. Type 2 diabetes, arthritis, Crohn's disease, obesity, high cholesterol. All those things are sitting there in my genetic code right now. What am I going to do about it? I can sit up here. I can just wait. Oh, Mom has high cholesterol. Dad's got Crohn's disease. Grandma was diabetic. My future is so bleak. You all listen to me for an hour. You got a pretty good inkling that I'm not going to sit back and wait. What am I going to do? I'm going to use everything I know about epigenetics. Even though it's a young science, I'm going to use everything I know. Reliv nutrition, exercise, health and happiness, friends, family, combining all those things to tell my DNA, stay healthy. We have that power in our hands right now with Reliv Nutrition and the Reliv Opportunity and the Reliv Lifestyle. You can make a decision today. If you leave here with nothing more than the commitment to take control of your health, that's a huge success for me. But with the opportunity, you can visit with the person that brought you, your future, your way of life, the Reliv lifestyle, the travel, the happiness, the contentedness, the energy. You have access to that. This is the Nutritional Epigenetics Company, the only nutritional epigenetics company in the world. And you get to be a part of it. Ryan Schmidt, who's the president of SL Technology, likens where you are today as having the potential to cause an economic boom similar to that at the start of the .com era. A lot of things have changed since the .com era took place. You have that opportunity. You all have been fantastic. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for your attention. Thank you for your feedback. We're going to take a few questions. I will be around after the program. Be happy to answer additional questions. I will preface the questions that I am not an expert on all of the Reliv products. So if you have specific product questions, I'm going to refer those back to your upline or the person who invited you. Thank you. Do we have any questions?